Most people approach data sufficiency the hard way, but these questions follow patterns, and if you recognize them, you can solve much faster. I'm Mark Glenn, the GMAT mentor, here to make the GMAT make sense. One important pattern is the equation count pattern. If you have as many different equations as variables, you can solve. So here's a great example. Pause the video if you want to try it. So we have 50 participants eating dinner. Okay, we have our lasagna people, we have our catfish people, we have our pork chop people. So adding up to 50 people, and then lasagna is $12, the catfish is $15, and the pork chops are $18. And that all adds up to $810. And they're asking for how many catfish people. Okay, so pretty straightforward setup. Notice what we have here, right? We have two equations with three variables. We can combine those two equations to eliminate a variable, but we cannot actually solve. Okay, so important to recognize that right off the bat. So let's go ahead and take a look at the statements. So statement 1, 6 more people ordered catfish than lasagna, so catfish equals lasagna plus 6. So now, if we combine that with the first two equations, we have three equations, three variables. That's going to be enough to solve. Okay, no need to do any additional work. We can just say that's it, and we can move on. Because we have three different equations, okay? So that is sufficient. I'll show you why that is in a moment. And we can do the same thing for statement 2. Twice as many pork chops as catfish. So our pork chops equals twice the catfish. Again, three different equations, three variables. This is enough to solve. So statement 2 is also sufficient, and the answer is D. Okay, again, this will be great because you can save that time for other questions. Now, let's show why this actually works, right? So first I'll go ahead and name these equations A and B. Let's multiply that top equation, that equation A, by negative 12. So we have negative 12L minus 12C minus 12P equals negative 600. And then I'll just repeat equation B. So we have 12L plus 15C plus 18P equals 810. And if we add all those up, right, we have 0 here, plus 3C, plus 6P equals 210. Okay, so this is actually kind of nice, right? So now we've gotten rid of one variable, right? We got rid of L. And if we look at our statement 2, that tells us P equals 2C, which matches the variables that we have left in what we've just done. Okay, so let's see if we can use that. We can say 3C plus 6, then we'll go ahead and substitute that 2C from statement 2 equals 210. And now we can work this out. 6 times 2 is 12, plus 3 is 15. So we have 15C equals 210. And that works out to C equals 14. Okay, so we can actually solve for C here, right? But there's no reason to actually do that, right? We don't care what C is. All we care about is that we know that C can only be one answer, right? That would make it sufficient. So again, no reason to work all this out. I showed you you could do it, but ultimately really you want to just recognize that you could use that shortcut. Okay, but notice that I said to use the shortcut, it has to be three different equations. So let's say, for example, the GMAT gave you a statement 1 that said, there's a discount, okay, and now the lasagna is only $4. The catfish is only $5. And the pork chops are only $6. And the total is now only $270. Okay, so looks like another equation, right? However, look how similar it is to equation B. In fact, if we go ahead and multiply it by 3, we're going to get 12L plus 15C plus 18P equals 810, which is the same as equation B. Okay, so this is actually not a new equation. It's the same equation, and it would not give us new information, so it's not sufficient. Now, you might think this is totally contrived, but actually this is something that GMAT does like to do, right? They'll give you something that looks like it's something new, but it's actually something you already know, right? So in this case, an equation that you already have. So, but I guess big picture, remember, as long as you have as many equations as variables, and they're all different equations, you will be able to solve, and it is sufficient. So hopefully that helps the GMAT make sense. Subscribe for more GMAT patterns and strategies.